And our guest is already here with us. What we are going to be discussing today is a bit different. It is about the World Read Aloud Day. It is a day that is set aside and celebrated globally to, celebrate literacy and, of course, some of the things related to the issue of reading. And to do justice to the topic of today, of course, we are going to be discussing about why do we have the day set aside, and some discussions and questions that will be coming from the World Reading Day. To do justice to that, today is Malam Taufik Abdul Karim. He is the chairman, Computer Society of Nigeria, Kwara State Chapter. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having you on board today.
Fún ẹ̀yin tí ẹ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa ètò AM Drive òun náà ni òun wá sí ojú wọ̀nyí láti kàn ní Ìmọ̀ràn tìpínlẹ̀ Kwara. Abala àlejò wa tí a ti máa ń gbàlejò àwọn tí mo mọ̀ yàn náà lọ fún wa lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tí a bá gbé dání òun náà ni àwa yìí ń tásìmọ̀ gbéyẹ̀wò ní òwúrọ̀ tòní gẹ́gẹ́ bí wọ́n ṣe wí lédè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì pé World Read Aloud Day yíyún mọ̀ọ́kọ̀-mọ̀ọ́kà tí a mọ̀ mọ́ kí ni ìdí tó fà òun náà ni àwọn ọmọ ìjọ lórí ẹni tí ó jẹ́ àlejò wa lónìí wọ́n jẹ́ alága fún ẹgbẹ́ àwọn onímọ̀ ẹ̀rọ ayárabíàṣá ìyóhùn kọ̀ǹpútà ẹ̀ka ti ìpínlẹ̀ Kwara tí orúkọ wọn sì ń jẹ́ Malam Taufik Abdul Karim, àwọn tó ń aláṣẹ àpàṣẹ iléeṣẹ́ Plat Technology. Akójúmọ́lẹ̀ kan sí àlejò wa àjíǹde àrò máa jẹ́ ẹ̀ka àpàṣẹ iléeṣẹ́ Kwara TV. Kẹ́hìndé.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Like I said during the introduction, every first Wednesday of February is celebrated worldwide as the World Read Aloud Day to celebrate or promote storytelling, literacy, and reading, and every other thing that encompasses around this. I hope I'm right.
You are.
To start with, why do we have a day set aside for such?
Yeah, and in 2010, that's around 15 years ago, a foundation in the US, Lit World, started the World Read Aloud Day. The aim is, or the long-term goal is to have, to make literacy a human right. That's the long-term goal of having the World Read Aloud Day. And since then, all over the world, Nigeria included, different organizations celebrate that day, wherein people read aloud to students, to pupils, and also even to adults, mainly to inculcate reading habits, to make people have interest in reading beyond academic books. Reading, diverse, diverse literature, and to also it also creates a bond. Between the family. You understand, when people read aloud to their children, the children also read aloud to their parents and things like that. So that's why we have it. Okay,
I think we have something like that where parents read bedtime stories and all that. Like since inception, we've been having something related to that. But ever since inception, can you say, or do you have any idea of some of the impacts of reading aloud by the children?
Yeah, like you said, well, what is common is having parents read to children, but what is also important is children also reading to parents. I can remember when I was in, I think, primary school, my dad, he buys newspapers, he encourages us to read to him, and I was able to, pick up the right pronunciation of some words. I can remember vividly, I was reading Guardian newspaper, and I got to the word chaotic, and I pronounced it as chaotic. And of course my dad corrected me. No, it's supposed to be chaotic. I knew that besides what I picked from school, I also picked quite a number of things, myself and my siblings, from our parents by reading to them. Also from the parents also reading, when you read a book, there are things you need, there's places where you need to stress. So that you bring out you bring out the meaning of Yoruba. Will say pẹ̀lẹ́ lako olabo. You say pẹ̀lẹ́. This the way you stress it, the way you pronounce it, will make the child understand. Okay, this portion of the book, this is, you have an exclamation, for instance. This is how it's supposed to be pronounced. So besides what we've been having, bedtime stories read to children, it's very important that children also read to their parents, so that, of course, corrections can be made and they know how to read properly.
All right.
Now, what's your reaction to this particular phenomenon that we have today, whereby many parents too doesn't have much time? What you experience in your time to read to your children, even reading to your parents then. Many parents today don't even have that time of sitting down to read to their children. And I consider that by that, many children too don't form that habit of reading at home to their parents. Probably what you are able to be taught to gain from your parents when you're reading to them is not being inculcated in today's children. So what's your reaction to that?
Well, I believe that whatever you are interested in, there is always time for it.
As a parent?
As a parent, as an individual, whatever you're interested in, there is always time for it. You may, of course, because of the fact that, parents have to work, they have to leave home very early, they come back late. But parents don't work every day. There are always weekends, there are public holidays. It's a matter of just creating some time. Each parent will have minimum of, say, 30 minutes, because if you don't have the time for your kids now, they won't have time for you later in future. To be beyond that, if you don't form the bond, which reading aloud to them is part of forming a bond.
Form part of the impact that
if you don't do that now, there comes a time, that's especially when the kids are young, when they're in primary school, they're in the early GSS classes, schools. That's the time where they want to talk to you, they want to form a bond with you, and if you don't do that at that time, by the time they're in their teenage years, then you won't have access to them. So when they have challenges, they will not talk to you, they'll talk to their peers. Who won't be able to advise them appropriately. By the time they're in their early 20s, they become a stranger to you, you become a stranger.
Why living on the same roof?
Under the same roof. So, I believe that whatever you want to do, you always have time to create time for it. If something is important, you will do it. If it's important. After all, you say you don't have time. If you fall ill, you still leave your job and treat and get yourself treated medically. So I think it's a matter of knowing it's important. Anything we know it's important, we will create time for such things.
We'll come back to more questions, so let's give the lap of the line for the Yoruba question.
Àlejò wa, ẹ kú àsọtún látàárọ̀. Lórí àyájọ́ kéèyàn ò lè kà jáde, kí tó ní pàtàkì rẹ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ sì dáhùn ní èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì. Mo fẹ́ kẹ́ ṣàlàyé fún wa náà lédè àbínibí pé kí ni pàtàkì kéèyàn lè kà jáde. Bí ká ti mọ̀ túmọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ náà ni. Tó wá tún ṣe pàtàkì kéèyàn wá mọ bí oní nǹkan ṣe ń pè nǹkan rẹ̀ ni.
Pàtàkì kí a lè ka nǹkan síta òun ni pé lóòótọ́ àti gbédè. Àmọ́ láti mọ nǹkan ju tí à ń gbọ́ lọ, a ní láti ti ka nǹkan. Ẹlòmíín sì tí ò dé Maiduguri rí àbí tí ò dé Iceland rí, ìwé tó bá kà ó lè jẹ́ kó mọ bí ibẹ̀ yẹn ṣe rí, bí àwọn ẹlòmíín ṣe ń wùwà, bí àwọn ẹlòmíín ṣe ń ṣe ìṣẹ̀mí ayé tí wọ́n àṣà àti ṣe wọn. Àwọn nǹkan báyìí dẹ̀ ni ó máa ń téèyàn bá ń èèyàn ò lè mọ gbogbo nǹkan tán. Ọgbọ́n ọlọ́gbọ́n déèyàn dẹ̀ máa ń lò láti fi kọ́gbọ́n àbí láti fi ṣayé. Tí ẹ bá fẹ́ lọ́gbọ́n kì í ṣe àwọn tó wà lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ èèyàn nìkan. Nígbà tí lápèjúwe ìgbà tí Awólọ́wọ̀ wà láyé, nígbà tí Sàwùdánà wà láyé, báwo ni wọ́n ṣe ṣẹ̀mí, báwo ni wọ́n ṣe kó àwọn èèyàn jọ, báwo ni wọ́n ṣe tò ìlú. Ìwé kíkà yóò jẹ́ ká mọ àwọn nǹkan báyìí, yàtọ̀ sí pé kí wọ́n kọ́ wa nílé ẹ̀kọ́. Ẹni tí ò ṣe government lápèjúwe, tí ò ṣe political science, òun náà láǹfààní láti kára àwọn nǹkan báyìí. So àti kékeré dẹ̀ láti kọ́ ọmọ ní tó yẹ kó.
Òun ni àti kékeré ní ìmọ̀lẹ́ tí ń kọ́ ọmọ ẹlẹ́sìn.
Láti kékeré. So àti kékeré yẹn ló yẹ ká ti wá jẹ́ kí kíka ìwé sókè fún wọn. Ipò ọ̀yá ẹ jókòó ẹ jájọ ka ìwé báyìí. Káwọn náà káwa náà gbọ́. Òun ni ó jẹ́ kí ìwé kíkà kó wù wọ́n láti ilẹ̀, tí ò ní jẹ́ pé nǹkan tó jẹ́ pé nígbà tí wọ́n wà ní ẹ̀kọ́ ni wọ́n á kán dandan pé eléyìí ẹ lọ fi ṣe àmúrelé. Ohun tó yẹ ká ṣe ni pé ká jẹ́ kí ìwé kíkà kó wù wọ́n, kó má jẹ́ pé wọ́n rí níṣẹ́ kan rí ní interfin ṣe fàájì interfin lọ́jú so ìpàtàkì rẹ̀ nìyẹn.
àgbà àgbáyé wá wò sà wọ́n wá ní sọ wá tó ń torí kan tó wá mọ́jọ́ kan sọ́tọ̀ pé ẹja máa fi sàmì torí pàfẹ́ máa kàwé síta.
Bó ṣe yẹ náà ni pé bó ṣe gbogbo náà ni pé tí wọ́n bá yẹ ọjọ́ tó sọ fún nǹkan òun ní láti fi rán wa létí ntí gbogbo kálukú irú àgbájú kálukú pọ̀ tí èèyàn ò lè má rántí pé ó yẹ ká tún sọ̀rọ̀ nípa nǹkan báyìí àyà ọjọ́ yẹn sí ló fa ipa à ń sọ láfi níjókòó yìí tí ò bá sí ó ṣeé ṣe kó jẹ́ pé lọ́dún kan ẹ lè mọ́ mẹ́nu bà nítorí ntẹ́ ẹ fẹ́ mẹ́nu bà pọ̀ so àmì tó fa kí wọ́n fi yọ ọjọ́ yẹn sí náà tó fi yọ sí nìyẹn.
tọ́ ọ̀dà Kẹ́hìndé.
Now, if I may ask, what do you think is the problem why many, even children, that will not talk about adults, don't pick interest in reading the book? Is it because of the new technology that we have, because of this particular thing? I believe some can be on this for hours without even altering anything else. So do you think this is the best, or the reading through the books has an impact more?
Yeah, well, the issue is the problem is not technology, really.
Okay.
Because I mean, while we were all in school, I mean, these phones weren't available, and it wasn't everybody who was interested in reading.
Then, yeah.
You know, so I think the issue is creating that interest early enough, and letting children have access to books early enough, letting them know that they can get entertained, because children want to play.
Yeah.
You know, I remember, I mean, while I schooled in Lauren here, and I used to walk from my school just for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes to the state library.
Okay.
And we used to read paysetters then. The library had lots of paysetters.
Going on your own? Going
on my own. My parents didn't tell me to do that.
Okay.
So we go there, a couple of my friends, we read probably like a third of the book. We finished a book in 3 days. You know, it was entertaining. Yes, then there was TV, though we know that TV stations open by I think 4 p.m. or that.
At that time. And then we have this influx of the.
Yeah. So it's not a technology thing. It's a matter of creating that interest and letting children know that this is also a form of entertainment. Children want to. It's natural. Children want to play. You know, and it's what is interesting that catches their fancy. You know, yes, technology has brought its own challenges, but also brought its own advantages too. There are apps which you can use for reading. Helps you. My daughter wasn't good with reading. She prefers mathematics, just doing calculations. Until we got an app by Google, then it was called Bolo, which it reads aloud to her. She follows reading, and within 2-3 months, now you have to take novels away from her. You know,
so that helped her to develop that
interest, because the way the app was, it was entertaining. So it's a matter of making these things entertaining, making it pleasing to them, making them want to. I want to. Mom, I mean, my wife has to take books away and keep them. Oh no! Don't read this yet. When you're on holiday, you can pick this up. This was somebody who did not like reading. You know, so it's so technology.
But it definitely doesn't have to be books alone. You can actually read through other gadgets.
Exactly. You can read further. There are limited number of books you can have in the library. Then you may not have time to actually walk to the library itself. But there are e-books. It's about reading, not necessarily having it hard copy. I prefer hard copy books. I'm an IT person. I prefer hard copy books. But a lot of times I have to read e-books. So the key thing is reading, gaining knowledge, you know, whether it's through and one advantage of technology itself is that even while you are driving, you have their apps, you know, that read aloud to you. That read to you while you're driving, while you're exercising. If you're somebody who likes probably jogging around and stuff like that, you know, there are e-readers that will read these things aloud to you. So you not necessarily
have to be someone that loves reading before you can get
exactly. Yeah. You know.
All right, still talking about the World Read Day. Let's talk about some of the factors affecting readers, the challenges. What are some of the things that you feel are barriers to people being able to read? I think my colleague has actually, touched that place, but I want you to lay more emphasis on some of the parts.
Yeah, well, a major one is access to books.
Okay.
That's a major factor. Last year when we had one of the programs we had it at Government Girls Secondary School, Kesuna.
Okay.
And incidentally, we gave out some books. So incidentally, one of my partner was at Ipata Markets and saw one of the books we gave out being read by one of the pupils, and he interrogated her, "Oh, where do you get this book from?" Blah 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 blah. And one thing we found out was that she doesn't really have access to books like that. Beyond the textbooks, there are some books in the library, in the school library. So I think what is very important is the access. When I mentioned earlier that some of my friends, we used to leave school, after closing hours, and stay like an hour at the state library to read, it's because those books were at the library. If they are not at the library, we wouldn't have access. And so I think one major thing is having access to books of various kinds. Right. School library should not be just about maths, physics, chemistry, integrated science, and the rest, but there should be literature books, not for English literature. Not just for English literature. There should be literature books. There should be novels. There should be books about. There should be encyclopedia. Variety of books.
Maybe historical books.
Exactly.
That will tell us more about even the nation, even our offshore.
Exactly. Things like that.
All right. So
that's one. That's one. Now a major problem is creating that interest in reading. Reading should not be made. Shouldn't be made a chore, a core. It's something that students should be. They should see it as something that is entertaining. And when they see that something that is entertaining, they will themselves want to read without being forced to do so. Now, how that is done, that has to be the creativity of the parents and also of teachers. No matter what parents do, the student will come up and say, "Oh, my teacher said." Teachers have very great influence on them. Yes. So by introducing them to stories early, in kindergarten, nursery school, early primary school, and maybe having them to have probably once a week in which they read stories to themselves. They're encouraged to buy small story books and the rest like that. So a major barrier, a major problem is getting kids to be interested. Once you get them interested, then you don't have any problem.
All right, thank you very much. I think we will still need to come back to that particular question, but before that, I think we need to quickly go for this very short break, and when we come back, the program will continue.
ṣètò tó dùn tí ò láfiwé ìròyìn èyí tó gbayì tó dùn ún gbọ́ ètò òṣèlú tí ó lẹ́jà ń bá kan nínú ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀sìn tó ń kọ́ ní bá ṣe lè ráyé gbé níbi ká ṣe polówó ọjà kájé owó gbá bó ṣe ń lọ láàrin àwọn òṣèré wa eré ìdárayá ó gbẹ̀yìn kò ṣe kà tán ìyẹn ló mú kí wọ́n máa gbayì kárí àgbáyé o. Kwara tẹlifíṣàn ti dá ní ìdáyé pẹ̀lú àwòrán èyí tó halẹ̀ tó máa lè kodoro èyí ló mú kí wọ́n máa gbayì kárí àgbáyé o. Kwara TV is leading. Others follow. Kwara TV is leading. terms of informative content, others follow. In terms of education, others follow. And entertainment, others follow. Answer 113, others follow. PTP5.
Alright, you're welcome back. It is still the Thursday edition of the program AM Drive. Before we went on that break, we were having a discussion about the World Read Aloud Day with our guest, Malam Taufik Abdul Karim. And before we went on that break, you were talking about some of the factors affecting the children, but I think I need to barge in at that point. Alright, we have some kids that goes to school very early in the morning. We have them to have their their extra lesson in school, that is maybe around from 2 to 4. There are some kids that even come back around that 4. Their parents will get them a home lesson teacher to help them with the works in school. We have some Muslims parents that their children needs to go to maybe school of Arabic and all that. So many things involved. There are some parents that needs to go to their shops, their businesses. They keep their children there. At the end of the day, by maybe 8 p.m., they are back. They're exhausted. They just, take their dinner and sleep. How do you think they can imbibe or inculcate the act of reading to such kids?
That's a tough one, though it's also simple. Like I said earlier, it's a matter of knowing what is important, and whatever you want to do. That's my philosophy. Whatever is important to you, you will find time for it. Once you are healed and healthy, you'll find time for it. Okay. Personally, I'm not really that comfortable with the way most private schools are structured now, that you find kids closing at 4 p.m. While we were in school, I went to a private school too anyway. While we were in school, we closed 1 p.m. There's enough time to play, and we are not choked with academic activities. We close 1 o'clock. We have time to play football. We have time to read novels. We want to read novels. When I mentioned about going to the library, it was secondary school. We closed 2 o'clock, and I aced my WAEC. It didn't mean that we didn't do well. So I think it's important for both educators and parents to know that children need time to develop. Part of development is also playing. There is a limit to what you can ram into someone's head. Throughout the whole day.
The fact that they are even developing brains.
Exactly.
You need to take it one step at a time.
And learning should be something that a child should want to. A child should be eager to resume school. When they're on holiday. That was how school was for us. It was fun. It wasn't really, it wasn't hard work that, we are going to get stressed. It was, we are going to have time with our friends. We are going to learn something new. Now back to the parents also. Of course, we have to make a living. We have to make a living. We have to work. We have to leave home early for some of us. But it's a matter of also creating that balance, having some time, 30 minutes. Not even a week, you find time probably twice during the week, also time during the weekend. For weekend, it could be probably early in the morning. Okay, let's read this together, read this to me. It's also even an avenue for you to assess what your child is learning. Is he actually learning in school, or he's just, he's just being pushed from class from class to class. If you don't have time to read with your kids, will you then have time to actually do some of the assignments with them, to actually know if they understand? So it's a matter of making what is important. All right. Having that, creating that bond with our children, making them those who are interested in reading is extremely important. Once we know it's important and we have intention of doing it, we always have time for that.
All right, before I have my question on the global impact of World Read Aloud Day, let me go to the Yoruba desk for the question first.
Àlejò wa, ẹ jẹ́ n kọ́kọ́ gbé láti ibi tí Kẹ́hìndé tí ó ti béèrè ọ̀rọ̀ yìí pé lásìkò yìí pàtàkì ká máa kàwé síta yìí ó ṣe pàtàkì lórí àwọn ọmọ kéékèèké ju àwọn àgbàlagbà lọ. ṣùgbọ́n níbi tá a lò dé yìí ètò ẹ̀kọ́ àwọn ọmọ yìí ó fẹ́ ti fún wọn lọ́rùn bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe wá ṣàlàyé ní èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì hùn kí ni ẹ rò pé wà lè jọ́nà àbáyọ tí àwọn ọmọ kéèké ó fi nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí lórí bàbá lọ léwé láàárọ̀ látago 8 wọ́n darí dé lágo 3 aago 4 wọ́n tó ń láwọn ó lọ lé kéwú wọ́n dé lágo 7 aago 7 wọ́n sàsámẹ́ǹtì tí wọ́n gbé fún wọn léwé àsámẹ́ǹtì tí léwé mi ò fún ọmọ lóbi ò bá múra gan tìkàrà lẹ́fì parí ẹ̀ irú ọmọ bẹ́ẹ̀ orí àsámẹ́ǹtì gan ni ó sùn sí tipátipá lẹ́fì bẹ́ẹ̀ kó jẹun alẹ́ ìgbà wo gan ni àsìkò olè wọ́n fẹ́ fi kó ìfẹ́ kíka ìwé sí ọkàn àwọn ọmọ.
Ní àkọ́kọ́ náà àtúnṣe ti pé gbogbo àsìkò yẹn fún pọ̀ ó ní láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti ọwọ́ àwọn olùkọ́ ní àwọn tó ní àwọn iléèwé and ìjọba sì ní ipa tó ṣe pàtàkì tó àwọn ló mójútó bí àwọn ilé ẹ̀kọ́ ṣe bí ètò ẹ̀kọ́ ṣe rí kò ìgbà tára lọ léèwé aago kan àti ṣíwọ́ àti aládàáni ni àti èyí tó jẹ́ pé ìjọba ló ní ni.
wọ́n máa ń gbọ́jọ́ nìkan ní SIP ńgbà kan tipátipá àwọn fìdí wa mú wọ́n wá ní wá sí lẹ́sìn ní ń bẹ lẹ́yìn irọ́.
àwọn èèyàn wọ́n sì ṣe dáadáa nígbà tá a wà ní tá máa parí ìwé 10 àbí ìwé 12 nígbà yẹn 634 so àwọn èèyàn ṣe dáadáa wọ́n dáì ṣe pé bóyá wọ́n ń pẹ́ púpọ̀ ní iléèwé tó yín táwọn olùkọ́ jẹ́ ká mọ̀ náà ni pé ọmọ ó nídìí àsìkò láti ẹ̀ ti rántí tí ó ṣe ó ṣe pàtàkì kí àsìkò wà láti ṣeré kìí ṣe pé èèyàn ò lè wà látàárọ̀ títí dìrọ̀lẹ́ kó jẹ́ pé ìwé náà ló ń kò lè yé àsìkò ló fi yẹn tó ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀ wò so àwọn àdèmọ́ pé ara tó fà táwọn ilé ẹ̀kọ́ mi náà tó fi ń jẹ́ káwọn ọmọ pẹ́ òun ni pé àwọn òbí gan ò ráyè bẹ́ẹ̀ bá lọ́mọ jáde láago kan níbo ní ìdúró sí nítorí òbí náà aago 4 ni ó ń mo lọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ tó jẹ́ pé iléèwé tiẹ̀ tó jẹ́ aládàáni fún àwọn primary aago kan ni wọ́n ń ṣíwọ́ àmọ́ òbí ni wọ́n.
ẹ̀jẹ̀ wà lọ́dọ̀ yín ẹ bá wọ́n ẹ̀jẹ̀ wà kọ́ wọn.
so n táwọn ṣe ni pé kì í ọ̀dà wọ́n àwọn nǹkan tí èsì láàrú ètò ẹ̀kọ́ wípé báyà kan ṣeré kan kàwé wíwé ìtàn sọ yìí náà kan kàwé kan kọ́ nǹkan kan báyà bíi graphics ní nǹkan kan báyẹn so nítorí ó yẹ kí òbí náà rí pàtàkì tóbi bá rí pàtàkì nǹkan tá a mọ̀ pé a fẹ́ kí ọjọ́ iwájú àwọn ọmọ yìí dáa nítorí ara tó lè mọ́jọ́ iwájú dáa náà ni pé kọ́mọ nífẹ̀ẹ́ pé à ń tẹ̀ ń dá nǹkan kà fúnra rẹ̀ nítorí gbogbo àwọn tá a jókòó yìí nìsín kì í ṣe ìta kọ́ nílé ìwé nìkan la fi ń ṣayé àwọn nǹkan mi wà pé engineering lèmi ṣe ń sìn mo ka oríṣiríṣi nǹkan pa Awólọ́wọ̀ ní nípa Sàdáúnà ní nípa ètò ọrọ̀ ajé ilé ayé ní àgbáyé mo kọ oríṣiríṣi ohun ara tí mò ń lò tí mo fi rí tí mò ń ṣe níbi iṣẹ́ tèmi gan ṣe ni tí ò bá jẹ́ pé bóyá èèyàn wá nífẹ̀ẹ́ ìwé kíkà mo ti parí ilé ìwé mo ti parí náà nìyẹn
kakowó mọ wọlé ló kù.
so tí ó di bá ń rí pé nǹkan yóò ṣe pàtàkì tabalẹ̀ láwọn tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n jó lórí ní òṣèlú ní ètò ọrọ̀ ajé ni kò sí kankan náà tí wọn ò ní sọ pé àwọn máa ń yọ àyè lẹ̀ láti kàwé kó àwọn yàtọ̀ sí ìwé tó jọ mọ́ṣẹ́ tó ń ṣe nítorí téèyàn kà lè yóò fi ojú òfin là sí yóò fi mímọ̀ nǹkan oríṣiríṣi so tí nǹkan báyìí bá yé wa ní tá a ṣe jẹ́ òbí a lè wò pé búrò láṣẹ òjò àyè lẹ nígbà tí sísá wa tí wọ́n mention ti pé òbí mi aago 8 gan ni ó tó kúrò ní ṣọ́ọ̀bù nígbà tó wà ní ṣọ́ọ̀bù náà tó mọ bá wà pẹ̀lú ẹ̀ wọ́n lè ka nǹkan sọ̀rọ̀ kí kú ṣe pé nígbà tí wọ́n wà ní káńtà pé bí àwọn ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ wọlé náà àwọn ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń jáde ó lè yọ àyè yẹn náà lẹ̀ láti sọ pé kí á yá jájọ wo nǹkan báyìí jájọ ka ilé ìwọ náà kà sí mi létí jẹ́kẹ́mi náà.
ẹ wá sá wò báyìí ayé ayélujára làwa yìí ayé TikTok ẹni kéèyàn kà yóò jẹ́ kéèyàn ní mà dáadáa ṣùgbọ́n àwọn fọ́nrán tá à ń rí lórí TikTok àti fídíò àti ti Facebook àti Twitter ní gbogbo àwọn nǹkan báwọn ń gbé wa rìn jìnnà pé àti bá ṣe ń ṣe ní China ni so wá tún nílò ká tó wá máa kàwé mọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀ láti rí lórí TikTok.
ní tí mo máa ń sọ fún àwọn tí ó jẹ́ ọ̀dọ́ ni pé ìyẹn lè mú kéèyàn jẹ́ni tí ó máa wò wọn àbí kéèyàn jẹ́yàn tí wọ́n máa wò. so ẹni tó bá jẹ́ pé ó fẹ́ jẹ́ni tí ó máa wò wọn kó jókòó ti TikTok. èmi náà mo ní TikTok, mo ní Facebook, mo ń lo TikTok, mo ń lo Facebook, mo ń lo Twitter, mo ń lo Instagram, Snapchat ni mi fi bẹ́ẹ̀ tara lò. So mo ń lo LinkedIn. àmọ́ àsìkò díẹ̀ pé kí n lè mọ nǹkan tó tiẹ̀
tuntun lọ lórí àwọn ilé yìí náà.
bẹ́ẹ̀ tó bá jókòó tì ipò jókòó tì bí ẹni tó jókòó bí ó tẹ̀ jẹ́ pé ìtẹ̀ ń fẹ́ nù bẹ́ẹ̀ tó jókòó tì TV náà ni látàárọ̀ dálẹ́ kò ní ráyè láti.
ó fẹ́ máa wòran ni.
so ohun tí wọ́n sọ fáwọn ọmọ pé ìwọ náà lè jẹ́ni tí ó ṣe in tó jọ bí TikTok lọ́jọ́ iwájú. kéèyàn mójútó ìwé èèyàn ìtẹ́ nǹkan ní iléèwé kéèyàn tún ka àwọn nǹkan míì kí n tó ń lọ láyé fi lè yéèyàn òun lè yóò fi jẹ́ tó jẹ́ pé òun náà wọ́n padà mọ́ wò. so téèyàn bá jẹ́ pé ó yé wọn báyẹn mo sì mọ̀ kò sóbi tó fẹ́ kó jẹ́ pé ọmọ òun máa jẹ́ ẹni tí ó máa wò wọn lọ́jọ́ iwájú kò gbogbo ara la fẹ́ kó jẹ́ pé ọmọ wa àwọn yóò máa wo àwọn náà ní ti dáadáa èyí tó yẹ kéèyàn jẹ́ kó yé ìyàtọ̀ tó wà ń bẹ ni.
Amina.
Thank you so much, Alapo. Going our time is almost fast spent. I want to talk. We have talked about the children aspect and the parents' role in letting book reading be part of them. How they can really influence their effort to make the reading be part of their cultural upbringing. Now, what about the adults? Well, to me, I believe reading takes you travel beyond your shore, with things that you don't even know that happens somewhere else exists. Through reading, you know. But the adults too, the reading culture is dropping in our nation. But globally, what are the advantages that you think this could fetch us to make us rejig our interest in reading more?
Yeah, thank you for the question. A lot of times we blame technology for a lot of things, but technology is an enabler. You know, it's how we actually make use of technology. Like I mentioned earlier, with technology, you have access even to more books. You know, you have access to learn, to listen to books being read to you while you're on the go, while you're moving, while you're driving, walking, you know, which you couldn't do some 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, you had to actually sit down. We also have access to even more resources, more books. I mean, there's a limit to the number of books you can buy, I mean, physical books, because of the resources. There's a limit to the funds we have. But you have unlimited number of books. If you start reading, you used your whole life to read. You won't be able to read useful books, not even useless books.
Exactly.
You know, so technology is actually a plus, as far as I'm concerned. Technology is a plus. Now, for the adults, I mean, it's similar to what we said in Yoruba. It's a matter of who do you want to be.
Okay.
You know, I read some in a book, 40 Liters of Power, that only fools learn from experience. Wise people learn from other people's mistakes.
Sure.
But you can't know the mistakes of everybody. I mean, it's by really, you know, okay, this thing happened some 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. You know, somebody was reviewing, an elderly person was reviewing the 2023 elections with me, and no, I think it was before the 2023 elections. I was saying, look, this is how it's going to play out, because something similar happened in 1979. I don't want to go into that. I mean, we all know that something similar happened in 1979. Okay, so definitely there's no way the outcome, and the outcome was what we actually did see.
We're almost similar.
It was exactly the same thing, because the things that happened then were the things that happened in 2023. You know, so it's if our young people had read widely to know these are the way things usually work out.
So it gives that prediction.
You already know. Okay, so okay. So we want this outcome.
Okay.
So we'll have to do things differently. But you are doing things the same way it was done before, then you have the same result. Then for us, I mean, who are young and old people.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to see myself as old. I'm not old, I'm not old yet,
right.
even though I'm not a youth. I'll go back to the same thing. Once you know it's important, you create time for it. Yeah. What I do personally is, I create at least 40 minutes a day to read. You know, if the book is 1,000 pages, you'll finish in a month if you read 40 minutes. But if you're trying to block out time and say, okay, I'm going to do it on the weekend, 2 hours, that weekend something may come up.
Exactly.
But if it's a daily thing, you know, my philosophy is, okay, anything you want to do, you do it in bits and pieces regularly.
And then you are moving on it.
You are moving on it.
Thank you very much. But before you leave on the show, you know, there is no how we are going to talk about impacts, some factors, some challenges without talking about the way out. What are some of the things or how you feel the government can help kids with the reading culture and even schools, parents? Let us emphasize on that. What are some of the way out to helping children have the reading habit and culture?
Yeah, well, government should, first of all, employ more teachers. The state government is, I think, even the process of employing more teachers now. We can never have enough. They need to keep on doing that. And also, employing good teachers. Right. I'm aware the state government is also, doing that. Then the other thing is, of course, books are consumables. Okay, so there are things you need to yearly, beyond buying the textbooks. I think last year they still distributed some textbooks to schools, but beyond that, we also need to have other books. Variety of books, literature books, books on history, that are not tied to particular subjects that they are taking in school. Then, of course, having activities centered around reading. Government can also get involved in that. Then, of course, for the educators are the most important component. Okay, we mentioned governments getting the right teachers, the right educators, but of course, educators also are important in private school, because government won't be the one to employ them, even though government regulates that. They need to let kids imbibe that reading culture from an early age. Make it entertaining and interesting, that you will be the one to say, no, you've read enough.
You need to rest for the day.
You need to rest for the day.
All right, thank you so much. Alako, let's run.
Tó níṣẹ́jú ayé àlejò wa, kí ni àmọ̀ràn yín fún àtàọmọdé àtàgbà lórí ìwé kíkà?
Èyí tí èèyàn bá kà, òun ni èèyàn ò lè dín téèyàn ò bá kà. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n sọ báyìí, èèyàn ò lè dín téèyàn ò bá kà. Èyí tí ìmọ̀ tó wà lórí èèyàn, òun lèyàn ò fi ṣe ayé. Ìmọ̀ ò jẹ́ kì í sì fò síyàn lórí. Kò sí béèyàn ṣe òyìnbó á ní genius, mi ò mọ Yorùbá ẹ̀.
Àwọn àkàndé èèyàn nù.
Àkàndé èèyàn kò sí béèyàn ṣe pa lórí àbí
tó gbá lórí.
Tò sí èèyàn ṣe gbá lórí tó. Òyìnbó èèyàn ṣe gbá lórí tó. Bí ò bá fi àyè lẹ̀ láti mọ nǹkan, kò lè mọ̀. Yorùbá ẹni tí ó gbajúmọ̀ lẹ́yìn àwọn ọ̀dọ́ pàtàkì ọkùnrin, òun ni football. Àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ tí wọ́n bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́yà Messi, náà sọ̀rọ̀ Ronaldo, pàtàkì Ronaldo, ó rí àsìkò tó ń filẹ̀ láti fi
ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ lórí ìdí,
láti ṣe ìgbáradì fún ohun tí ó bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni báà náà bá fẹ́ jẹ́yàn láyé, bàbá fẹ́ jẹ́yàn láyé, ìta bá mọ̀ àwọn ìlú ní béèyàn bá tún mọ̀yàn, béèyàn béèyàn ò mọ̀ tí béèyàn ò mọ̀ kankan, ẹni tí yóò mọ̀ kò sí àǹfààní tí ó ṣe fún yàn. So tó ṣe pàtàkì ní pé ká mọ̀ nǹkan, tó mọ̀ nǹkan làwọn èèyàn gbọ́ mọ̀ wá. So a sì lè mọ̀ nǹkan bí àbá lọ́ka, bí àbá kẹ́kọ̀ọ́.
Tọ́ ẹ ṣeun. Tọ́ yàmọ̀ dágbére bẹ́ẹ̀ àbí? Yára lé ibi tí a máa fi àdàgbà rẹ̀, tí a máa fi kọ́nà rẹ̀. Adúgbò fún àlejò wa tí a pè wọ́n sí wọ́n sì jọ wá láàárọ̀. Ẹ ṣeun, ajídá ló máa jẹ́ alẹ́kùnrin wa tó pé ìjọ mi ẹ̀ tún jẹ́ wa níhò.
Pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run.
Ẹ ṣeun gan ni. Tọ́ Muhammad Jamiu Alákùnà ló kọ mi. Ìpàdé wa tó ní lọ́wọ́ lákọ̀tún ètò fún ètò AM Drive. Amina.
Thank you so much, Ella, for, of course, I believe today's edition of AM Drive has been very interesting, of course, educative to every one of us, even us in the studio here. As it let us read aloud, let us imbibe the culture of reading. We have a lot of goodness to gain as a human being that we're still living in society here. Thanks so much for coming, sir.
My pleasure.
For opening our eyes to the benefits of reading aloud as marking the day here today. And today is the next edition of the program, which has to be the Tuesday edition of AM Drive. We do hope you make it today to join us then. Until then, my name remains Amina Sadiku Yunus, urging you to have yourself a lovely day at work, and bye-bye for now.
All right, of course, our guest this morning has been Malam Taufik Abdul Karimi. He is the CEO of Plat Technologies Limited and also the chairman of Computer Society of Nigeria, Kwara State Chapter. But once sincerely, thank you for coming once more.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And of course, on that note, we'll be wrapping up today's edition of the program AM Drive. I hope you enjoyed all we have brought for you today. And if you do, join us tomorrow for the TGIF edition of the program AM Drive. Until then, my name is Sirimin Kendi Olawi Additional. Order you to have yourself a beautiful and a wonderful day. Keep watching Kwara TV, and bye-bye for now.